Hi and welcome to my channel and my very first video. My focus for this channel is to help men maximize their looks potential through understanding first what can be done and secondly the methods available on how to achieve looks maxing goals in the desired areas. This is a very important topic. Society likes to play down the importance of beauty and facial aesthetics, but anyone who has been considered attractive and then unattractive later on, or perhaps grew up unattractive and then became attractive later on, will have noticed the dramatic difference on how society treats you. And when handsome or beautiful, how much less effort is required to achieve the same social or dating result. Now, of course, looks aren't everything, but anyone who is into understanding social dynamics, human psychology, and the laws of human nature will likely be acquainted with the author Robert Greene, who's known for a number of bestsellers, including The 48 Laws of Power and The Art of Seduction, and he understands human nature extremely well. And in his opinion, the primary law of human psychology is that people judge based on appearances. Enhancing facial aesthetics is a huge industry, but when it comes to identifying what enhancements are a priority, the methods available, and the risks and rewards of each, and what is realistic or possible, is, in my opinion, very poorly understood. Even many surgeons and aesthetic professionals don't often consider specific facial proportions, or when, for example, administering filler or performing a surgery, they instead many occasions provide the same look that happens to be popular at the time, resulting in many people who undertake popular procedures looking similar, looking unnatural, and making it more obvious that they've had something done because what they've had done just doesn't fit proportionally with the rest of their face. So a tool, in my opinion, is needed to identify what works best for you personally and to maximize your facial aesthetic. So the first thing to understand is what is male beauty? What makes a male face handsome? And importantly, which areas of beauty are timeless, universal, and grounded in science or mathematics, such as certain facial proportions, and which are based on social status at any given time. For example, being tanned, being overweight, or slim, or with a muscular physique. This would depend whether it's attractive or not on the region you're living in and the period in history. So, historically, there have been many attempts by artists, scientists, and medical practitioners to understand and identify what makes a handsome or beautiful face, with one of the most recognized experts on facial analysis and beauty being the maxillofacial surgeon Stephen Marquardt, who decades ago developed a golden ratio mask which theoretically could be placed over someone's front or side facial profile and highlight how attractive they are by how closely the mask fit. So when I took his mask and put the male version of his mask over a number of known attractive men like Jeremy Meeks or Robert Pattinson, amongst others, I found it didn't fit that well. There may be a number of reasons for this. However, to be fair to him, he created this mask in the 90s, and since then, we have a lot more data on what makes the ideal male face. So I went into the clinical literature, I took the measurements across the face from clinical studies on male beauty and used this to redesign the golden ratio mask, of which I have the front and side profile up here. And I will make a transparent downloadable version for free on my website, and I'll put the link to that at the bottom of this video. So this is important, in my opinion, that we have measurements and tools to help men who want to maximize their facial aesthetic as effectively as possible. And it can also be used as a tool to rate a man's current level of facial attractiveness for those who are interested. So as this is my first video, I won't go into specifics yet of how to enhance your own appearance, but I do want to describe the categories of men, and I'll tell you why in just a moment, why this is important for this discussion. From my own experiences, I agree with certain Looksmaxxing channels, which they say that although, men have a certain rating for women from sort of 1 to 10, women generally divide men into one of three tiers and three categories. And I also want to use consistent language with others in the community. These tiers are sub 5 at the bottom, followed by normie at the middle, and at the apex, the Chad. So this is actually explained very well by YouTuber Wheat Waffles, and I've included the link to his relevant video in the description below. So just to be clear, I haven't put this video in conjunction with him, but I think he's a great source of information and content. So, I would encourage you to check out his channel as well. So there are a lot of videos already out there about these categories, but for those who may not already be familiar, I just want to briefly explain each category. So sub 5 refers to individuals who are considered less than 5 out of 10 on a scale of looks and generally have features that are less desirable or less symmetrical, such as weak jawlines, poor eye shape, receding chins, and so on. Now, according to black pill theory, men in this category will find dating success almost impossible, irrespective of their personality or humor or charm, unless they have an extreme level of status or wealth. So I personally disagree with this, but based upon what I've personally seen, clearly they have a much harder time. And this channel is designed to help men who want to get into the next category up, because this inevitably will make your dating life easier. So the next category up is the normie, and this is where the vast majority of men sit. And this category includes men with average or typical appearances. So they neither stand out for being exceptionally attractive or unattractive. They generally have a balanced but unremarkable look. And according to black pill theory, men in this category can improve their dating success by working on things like charm, humor, gym, and so on. And finally, we have at the top of the looks hierarchy, the Chads, the highly attractive men. Typically, they have features like strong jawlines, hunter eyes, symmetrical features in general, and all else being equal, these men are highly desirable. And anyone who's been to college or socialized for an extended period of time would have encountered this type of man, or realized they were one of them, from initial female attention they would have received. Anyone on a college campus or in a club can see, especially university, women congregating around a few very attractive individual men. So the objective of this channel is for those who want to Looksmax. It's really important to have a realistic understanding of, firstly, whether it's possible to reach the next category up. And this, to a large extent, does depend on your starting point and knowing what areas can be changed and to what degree. Now, when I say realistic, it's not necessarily in the negative. A lot of men can enhance their attractiveness much more than they realize, but they just don't know where to start or what to do. And one very important implication of this tiering system is that it's important to not over optimize. So your objective would be to go up a stage. And if, say, you had a feature on your face and you could improve this slightly through a very expensive, high risk surgery, and the feature itself is aesthetically not very important, it generally wouldn't be, generally it wouldn't be worth it, because even if you undertake this procedure, it wouldn't likely, in all likelihood, be enough to shift you to the next category up, even if everything went smoothly and perfectly. So now let's go on to the example on, don't over optimize. So here is the example of what I mean. If you already have, say, a Chad face, but maybe you could improve something because perhaps it's not technically perfect, in the vast majority of cases, it's better to not improve it at all, as a slight enhancement won't likely impact anything for you in the real world. Here we have images of two highly attractive men, both models with different appeals. You might recognize David Gandy on the left. He has a very traditional masculine look, and the model on the right has more of a pretty boy look. So in theory, the ideal nasolabial angle for men, and in this example, I'm going to focus on their noses. So this is the angle of the nose tip and should be between 90 to 105 degrees. That's the ideal range. So David Gandy on the left has a tip lower than 90 degrees, and the model on the right has an angle higher than 105 degrees. Neither have perfect nasal ridges either. So I've just brought up an image in the center, an ideal that shows the ideal the theoretical ideal nasal ridge. So the ideal nasal ridge is flat and 35 degrees from the base of the nose, which neither model has. David Gandy has more of a curved nose. The model on the right has more of a sort of ski slope nose. However, no one in their right mind would suggest either model undertake rhinoplasty, filler, PDO threading, or any other nose modification treatment in an attempt to achieve perfection. Few reasons for this. Some are very obvious. First, any potential benefit would have exactly zero tangible impact on their life. Any limiting factor that these men might theoretically face in the real world would not be because of insufficient facial attractiveness. Secondly, their features fit very well within the rest of their facial proportions. David Gandy's nose being larger, more bulky, and more curved than the theoretical ideal fits in very well with the rest of his more hypermasculine face, with very strong and defined jawline. Has very good forward growth of his mandible, strong cheekbones, compact eye orbits, and also very strong forward brow and deep set eyes. So the model on the right has a more feminized nose than the theoretical ideal for men, but again, this fits in very well with the rest of his youthful features, including steep negative canthal tilt of his eyes, long ramus, slightly higher positioning of his gonial angle despite the long ramus, and a steeper, more feminized jawline. So any modifications you make for this reason must be done in consideration with how it fits in with the aesthetic and proportions of the rest of your face. And we've all seen examples on social media or even in real life where someone tries to get the ideal nose. They try and achieve a nose that looks like their favorite celebrity, or the jawline or the lips, and it just doesn't fit with the rest of their face, and it gives a sort of uncanny valley experience, which I might do another video on because it's very important when it comes to Looksmaxxing to not trigger that unnatural look, which can, instigate a feeling of repulsion in people who meet you. If you sort of have a look that, the features start looking fake and you look kind of off balance. So, very important to know what you're doing when you undertake any procedures, what you're trying to achieve, and importantly, where you should be stopping. Another thing to mention here, once you've achieved a certain level of aesthetic, after a certain amount of Looksmaxxing, you will get diminishing returns. And the risks of something going wrong outweigh the benefit you would receive if something went right. There's endless procedures to do. You need to identify the most important ones for you, the ones that will have the highest impact. And once you've achieved it, understand sort of which category you now sit in, and is it possible to get to the next category. And at some point, you need to draw the line and move on. So this is an example of Looksmaxxing done right. Looking at this man's before photos on the left, you can see he had a weak jaw, hollowed under eyes, and a receding chin and a squash looking nose. However, he has certain very solid fundamentals and great features, such as almond shaped eyes with negative canthal tilt, a compact midface. He has very good lips and good brow projection. So, building out a jawline, sharpening his gonial angle, filling his tear trough, or both tear troughs, and correcting a receding chin. This can be done in multiple ways, from implants to fillers, each with their pros and cons. But these enhancements, in his case, I believe have made a very dramatic difference to his aesthetic, and in my opinion are very worth it. His facial aesthetic has transformed him from the normie category on the left to the Chad category in likely a day. Here you can see a side profile view of how effective the Looksmaxxing was in this case. So that's all for my first video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and please feel free to also comment anything below, or even contact me through my website, which should be up shortly, and I'll put the link below when it's up. Thank you.